A moment. I'm getting some messages. All right. So yeah, so this webinar is now being recorded. This is basically for the purpose of review and archiving. If you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat box on the right side of your screen and it will be answered shortly. Now I understand that for some of you who joined as guests, the chat box is not available. So in such cases, you can please unmute to ask your questions. And finally, once this webinar basically concludes, the e-certificate of participation will be shared over your registered email IDs within, I think, 1 or 2 days. So I think, yeah, that was all important information which I really wanted to share with you all. All right, so agenda. These are the topics which will be covered during this entire session. We will basically begin with understanding what is cloud computing and its advantages. We will also look into various service models that cloud offers. Then we will focus on to Microsoft Azure, which is basically the agenda of this entire webinar. What are the services offered by Microsoft Azure and so on. And then we will know how, as a student, you can avail these services and some of the Microsoft Azure credits. Um, and after that, I will really show you some cool demo stuff. So just wait till then. All right, so let's jump in to understand what exactly is the meaning of cloud computing. All right, so as I have told you that before we understand what exactly is the meaning of Microsoft Azure, we need to know about cloud computing, right? Since Azure is the cloud service provider, it's nothing more than that. So let me begin with explaining what exactly is cloud computing. So the definition says that it is the delivery of computing services over internet, which is otherwise known as cloud. So let me give you some, easier way to understand this concept. So cloud computing is basically the delivery of different services through internet, obviously, including, the data storage. You have these big, massive servers, the databases, then you have networking services as well, and the softwares. We will understand them one by one in the upcoming slides, so don't worry about that. Then in cloud computing, basically the hardware and the software services are provided by someone you call cloud service provider, which is CSP in short. Now the cloud-based storage basically makes it really possible to, save your files to some remote database and retrieve them on demand as and when you need. So what does this mean to you? So as a user, for you, you do not have to care about maintaining the physical infrastructures, and then the cloud is basically associated, whatever cloud computing it is, whosoever is providing the cloud services, there is a associated pay as you go model, which you might have heard, every now and then. So what basically happens in a pay as you go model, you you pay only for the individual services you need for as long as you use them, and you really do not require a long-term contract or some complex licensing. You don't need that. So, the pay as you go pricing is like pretty much similar to how you pay for your utilities. For example, you pay for water bills, the electricity bills, right? You only pay for what you have used. So that is like a very brief and very short introduction to what exactly cloud computing means. So that's all. And you just need to know what exactly is the meaning of pay as you go pricing model. All right. So let's move to the next slide. All right, now the cloud service model. As I've told you that when we are trying to understand Microsoft Azure, we not only need to understand what is the meaning of cloud computing, we also need to understand what are the various service models. And this is the very critical and important concept in cloud computing that we need to know. There are basically three service models that a cloud computing provides. First is infrastructure as a service, or we also call it as IaaS in short. So what does infrastructure as a service mean? Well, it is the basic building block for any cloud IT. It is just like managing a physical server. So it is most closest to your, on-site deployment. We will see that later on in the next slide. But it is, just like maintaining your physical servers on your own. For example, Microsoft Azure. Then the next cloud service model is platform as a service, or PaaS in short. Here, the focus is on deploying and managing your applications. So what does that mean basically? It means that you don't care about the physical server, or you do not care about the underlying infrastructure. All you care about is, developing your application, deploying that application, and managing that application. That's all you care about. As I've also written here, that you don't worry about the hardware or managing the operating system. So, for example, you have Azure App Service, Heroku. Don't worry if you don't know these terms yet. You will get to know them later on. Then the final cloud service that is, most oftenly referred to as software as a service or SaaS. So these are the services which you have been using your entire life. You'll get to know them later on. So the products or the services which are basically managed by your service provider. So for example, Gmail, right? Outlook. You use Gmail every day, you use Outlook every day. So what are these applications basically? You just use the applications, right? You do not care where exactly those applications are deployed, who's managing the hardware, how is the operating system being managed. You don't care about that, right? You just open your application, you write your email, and to give you all like a brief summary of all this, say that the PaaS or platform as a service model is mostly for the developers. You can see that. So PaaS is quite easier for developers to build the applications on cloud without worrying about all the stuff underneath, which is essentially managing the hardware infrastructure. You don't have to worry about that. On the contrary, if I talk about software as a service, which is SaaS, so SaaS is mostly for the customers who just want to consume the applications without worrying about the hardware or where the application is deployed. So you can see the contrast between these three services, right? So in PaaS, you have to build the application, deploy it, maintain it. But in SaaS, you just consume the application. You don't worry about any of that. So I hope that explained the cloud service models in brief. Let us move to the next slide. All right, so this is the snapshot which I have taken from Microsoft's website, official website. This picture basically shows the shared responsibilities between the cloud service provider and the user of cloud services, right? So let us talk one by one. So as you can see on the left of your screen, we have on-premises, or that on-premises is also called the private cloud. Why it is called private cloud? Because everything is maintained by the user. So for example, the user is responsible for the storage, the networking, the compute services, virtual machines, managing the operating systems, the patches and updates. Everything is your responsibility. The runtime is your responsibility. Developing, deploying application is again your responsibility. And finally, data and access of those applications is also your responsibility. So you can see in an on-premise type of private cloud, everything is your responsibility, right? You have to manage everything. But if we talk about the rest of the picture, if you see, we have infrastructure as a service, wherein the cloud service provider, if you purchase the services from a cloud service provider, that CSP or cloud service provider will be responsible for the storage, networking, and the compute, and the rest is your responsibility. So now, let me tell you one thing, that if you move up the type of cloud computing, the less responsibility you have, right? So if you move from infrastructure to platform to software as a service or SaaS, you get less and less responsible for the services. For example, if you see software as a service, you are only responsible for data and the access. Just imagine the example which I have given you in the previous slide, the Gmail example. You just consume the application, right? The storage, networking, compute, VM, OS, runtime applications, everything is, cloud service providers' headache, their responsibility. You are not responsible for anything like that, okay? So yeah, that must have given you, some insights into what exactly is infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service, and how these three services are quite different from on-premise, right? Even the least of the services, like the infrastructure as a service, is better as compared to on-premises, right? Okay, advantages, right? So a very common question which people ask all the time is that why would I want to move to cloud services? Which is a very valid question, right? So, well, you see, cloud offers a variety of advantages, and we will discuss them one by one. The number one is reliability. So, depending on the service level agreement that you will choose, your cloud-based application can provide a continuous user experience with no apparent downtime, even when things go wrong. So, what exactly is a service level agreement? Well, service level agreement is like a legal contract which is done between the users and the cloud service provider. right? So that's like the easiest I can explain. Scalability, another most important advantage of cloud computing services is scalability. So these are basically of two types if I have to explain. First is the vertical scaling. So in vertical scaling, the computing capacity can be increased by adding the RAM or CPUs to a single virtual machine. Whereas in another type of scaling, which is the horizontal scaling, the computing capacities can be increased by adding the instances of resources, such as adding more virtual machines to a configuration. So you see, in vertical scaling, you are just dealing with your current resource, but in horizontal scaling, you are kind of adding new resources to improve the performance. The another advantage of cloud computing is elasticity. So if you have a cloud-based application, so that application can be configured to always have the resources they need. That is the meaning of elasticity. Next is agility. Now, what agility basically means is your cloud-based resources, if you have purchased some, let's say some virtual machine, which is a cloud-based resource, that can be deployed and configured quickly as your application requirements changes. So if tomorrow your application requirements, you need to configure new requirements, that can be easily deployed and configured in your existing cloud-based applications. Next and very critical advantage of cloud computing is the geo distribution, because the application and data can be deployed to a particular regional data centers, right? So Azure has multiple data centers which are all around the globe, and that provides the customers the best performance in their particular region. Disaster recovery, Azure takes the advantage of cloud-based backup services, data replication, the geo distribution, so that you can deploy your application, with the confidence that your application and data is safe even when a disaster occurs. So I think that's all I had in advantages of cloud computing. So those were the advantages of cloud services. Also, just one thing, if in case you are planning to get Azure certified in future, these are the terms which you should be really aware of. Okay. Microsoft Azure, finally. So we have talked about cloud computing in previous slides, covering what is cloud computing, what are the advantages, what are the various services, and so on. So what are service models? So let us now see what exactly is Microsoft Azure. All right. So Azure is basically a cloud service provider, CSP, as I've already talked about in the previous slides. So what does that mean? Well, basically Azure provides cloud-based services, right? So it was started on 1st of February 2010. Then cloud-based services is provided by Azure. It is commonly referred to as Azure only. Now, what is the meaning of Azure? So this is something ironic. So the meaning of Azure is the color of a cloudless blue sky. Yeah, that's ironic for me. That's all right. It's ironic. Okay. So Azure provides more than 200 services. So what does that basically mean? So having the capability to provide so many services means that you can do everything, like running your existing applications on virtual machines, to exploring new software paradigms. For example, you have intelligent bots and mixed realities. We will see a couple of cool demos in the later slides. So that is not everything about Microsoft Azure, I promise, but this is just a quick introduction, just to get you started with Microsoft Azure and understand how Microsoft Azure is being shaped, right? All right, so don't get confused and intimidated by this diagram. It's just a snapshot which I have taken from Microsoft's documentation website. It provides just an overview of the services. Now just imagine the number of services and infrastructure services are being provided by Microsoft Azure. Please don't worry, we will take one step at a time and discuss only the core services first, because it is a fundamental session after all, right? So this is the website I have taken the picture from. I will share the links as well afterwards if you want. All right. Azure services. As already told in the previous slides, there are so many services that Azure provides that it can get really, difficult to understand them all. Therefore, Azure services are often, categorized and divided into 10 different categories, starting with Azure's compute services. So compute services are often, the primary reason why companies move to Azure platform, because Azure provides a range of options for hosting applications and services. Networking is another Azure service, which basically includes a range of options to connect the outside world to the services and the features, uh, which are available in the Azure data centers. Another very popular Azure service is storage. So Azure basically provides four main types of storage services: Azure Blob, which is binary large objects; Azure File; Azure Queues; and Azure Table Storage. Next, we have mobile Azure services. So with Azure, basically developers like you can create mobile backend services for almost every platform, for example, iOS, Android, Windows, and that too very quickly and very easily. Databases. Now, Azure basically provides multiple database services to store wide variety of data types and volumes. Now, with a global connectivity, this data is available for almost every user to use and almost instantly. So some of the examples that I would like to give, like Cosmos DB, you must have heard of these databases, right? Cosmos DB, MySQL, and these are not the only databases available. We have PostgreSQL, and there are so many other databases services available within Azure, right? Web. Now, having a great web experience is quite critical in today's business world, and Azure's first-class support to build and host the web applications and HTTP-based services are quite impressive. Another Azure service is Internet of Things and IoT. It's like the buzzword around. It's very popular these days. So the ability of a particular device to collect and then relay the information for data analysis is IoT. That's it. Like it just collects and relays the information. So Azure basically provides many services that can assist and kind of drive end-to-end solution for IoT. Big data. So when we talk about big data, we are referring to large volumes of data, right? So where do we get this large volume of data? So data from like weather systems, we have communication systems, and many other scenarios that generates like hundreds of gigabytes of data. Now imagine how this amount of data will be processed. Now, obviously, this particular amount of data will be really hard to analyze and make some decisions out of that data. It is often so large that the traditional forms of processing and analysis are no longer appropriate. And that's where Azure's big data and services comes into picture. So it consists of big data analytics. Then you have data lake, and there are many other services which I won't take the names in. I don't want to confuse you all with the names. Next, we have artificial intelligence. So the Azure service that I always love to talk about is artificial intelligence, or AI. So Azure provides with many artificial intelligence services, including the cognitive services with pre-built APIs. They are ready-made APIs available, and you can use those APIs in your applications to kind of solve complex problems, right? So we will see in a couple of minutes, we will see some awesome demos which are related to Microsoft artificial intelligence APIs, which I'm talking about. DevOps. DevOps is another Microsoft Azure service, which with the help of Azure DevOps, you can basically create your build and release pipelines, right? So these build and release pipelines, what do they do? So they basically provide you with the continuous integration. So if some of you might have heard of CI/CD, so that's what DevOps services provides you. So continuous integration, delivery, and deployment of your application. So I have covered most of the Azure services. So by these services, which you see on the screen, Azure can help you tackle, very tough challenges. You can bring your requirements, your creativity, your favorite software development tools. Azure, on the other hand, brings a massive global infrastructure that is kind of available for you to build your applications on, and it's always available. All right. Azure for students, right? So that's one of the most important things. All right. So if you are a student, right, if you are currently being enrolled in a university or some college and you have a valid educational email address by your university, you can get like 100 US dollars of Azure credits plus some free services till you are a student only, right? So when you sign up as a student, so I will provide the link afterwards. So when you sign up as a student, you will get like $100 credited in your Azure account for almost 12 months, which is 1 year. I will share the link after the event, so don't worry about that. I highly recommend that you create your Azure account to check out the cool services and play around with the Azure features, which we have just discussed in the previous slides. So this is what the portal looks like when you open this link. You can just, get started for free. You need to provide some of the information, which is very basic, and there is no credit card requirement, right? You don't need a credit card for this. Okay. Ah, finally. I know you all were waiting for this. One more thing that we will not be able to cover all the cool stuffs in this introductory session, but as I promised to you, I will demonstrate how artificial intelligence APIs by Microsoft actually works. So this is a simple demonstration on a platform which is called Intelligent Kiosk. It is developed by Microsoft. The Intelligent Kiosk is essentially a kind of a universal Windows platform application. It has a collection of demos that will show you the intelligence capability of Azure machine learning, as well as Microsoft cognitive services. And if you want, you can install this software on your systems as well. If you want to try out the services on your own, you can do that. These are some of the links. I think this is for the installation link. This is to understand the services. This is for the GitHub. Oh, that reminds me. Intelligent Kiosk is now an open source project. So that means that, you can also contribute if you want to, and you can check it out on GitHub link. So I will just stop presenting here for a while and switch to my Intelligent Kiosk, where I will demonstrate you how exactly these APIs work. And also just note that there is no coding requirement. There is no demonstration of code part. I'm only displaying how exactly they perform, right? So just give me a moment till I switch. Hmm. All right, I hope you guys are able to see my screen. So for this demo, I have to turn off my video because some of the demos require camera. And if I'm already using my camera somewhere else, I won't be able to show that demo to you. So I'm just quickly turning off my camera. And all right, so here we go. So this is the landing page on Intelligence Gear. So as I have already told you in the presentation that you can install this application on your systems, right? Once you install the application on your systems and you open the system, this is the landing page, or it is also called the demo gallery, where you can see, the recent demos which you have used. So if the application is brand new for you, you will not see any of this recent demos. You will just see this vision. Now, what exactly are these tiles? I will explain them one by one to you. So if I talk about vision, so this particular category consists of everything which is related to the vision API. So if I just go inside this, there are almost 19 demonstrations that shows how artificial intelligence can be used to analyze the images and recognize faces, text, objects, and more. For example, you see over here we have form recognizer that will extract information from a form, right? We will see that later on. Then you have digital asset manager. Then you have insurance claim automation, visual alert builder. So what is this visual alert builder? So it basically shows how vision will enable you to train and trigger the visual alerts. So if some, some person comes up, there will be an alert created. That's all. Vision API Explorer, my personal favorite, which I will talk about later on. Then the face APIs, which tells you the information about the face, like what is the age, the gender, the landmarks from the faces in an image. The real-time image classification, and you have real-time object detection. Then you have a real-time driver monitoring, right? Obviously, this imagine the kind of application this API will have, because it's monitoring and identifying whether the driver is distracted or not, right? It can avoid potential accidents. Then we have the real-time video insights, that real-time crowd insights, which will analyze, and tell you uh, how the crowd is, what is the emotion and sentiments associated with the crowds. So, are they happy or are they sad? That kind of thing. Are they just distracted? All right. So let me go back to my demo gallery. So next we have decision and search. Here you have four demonstrations about like Bing News Analytics, Azure Cognitive Search Explorer, Anomaly Detector, Bing Visual Search, and so on. So these are some of the examples about how these APIs are basically used for performing the specific task. Next we have, all right, my screen just, next we have language and speech. So this is another most important Microsoft artificial intelligence APIs, because you find so many applications where there are options for you to convert the given text into some another target language, or you can convert your given text into speech, or from speech to text, etc. So these are some of the everyday used applications. So you have Text Analytic Explorer, you have Speaker Recognition Explorer, you identify who is speaking. You have Bing News Analytics, you have Speech to Text Explorer, which I was just talking about, right? You have Translator API Explorer, where you basically translate between multiple languages. For example, you can translate from English to Hindi or Spanish to Hindi. I don't know. You can translate, right? There are many target languages and many supported languages as well. Social photo booths. So these are some, you can see the celebrity look-alike, like who do you look like? Then you have Valentine's Day photo booths. So there are so many, social photo booths services available. You can check them out. These are really cool stuff, I can tell you. I personally like the celebrity match. Not to brag, I look like Jennifer Lopez. Anyways, so once your favorite any of these demonstrations. So for example, if you see here, I have marked Form Recognizer as my favorite demo. I haven't marked this my favorite demo. So once you mark some of the services as your favorite, they will be kind of combined, and they will be visible in your favorite demos, right over here. So yeah, these are the services which I have marked as my favorite services. Just for the purpose of this presentation, I did that. Now let us see them one by one. These are like really cool demonstrations. Let us begin with, all right, Text Analytics Explorer. So here you see there is a input given. There is a paragraph. Now what exactly is going on right now is that the API is analyzing some information about this particular paragraph. So before we understand what is the output, let me tell you what is happening here. So there is an input given, right? This is the input which I have given. Okay. This input is going to an API, which is the Text Analytics API, right? So I'm making a request to the Text Analytics API along with this paragraph as an input. And that API is doing its magic, it's performing something, and it is, sending me the response back. So what do you see here? There is an abstraction created, kind of, right? You don't care how it did. You don't care how the API analyze the paragraph. All you care about is making a request to the API and getting the appropriate response from the API, right? So if you see here, it says that the detected language is English with a confidence of 99%. So what does this mean? What is the meaning of confidence? Well, it means that the API says this language is English, and with a confidence of 99% that, hey, I'm 99% sure that this is English. Then the key phrases that the API could extract from this particular input paragraph are places, online menu, great menu, and so on. Email, complaint. Now the sentiment. This is the most important information that you get from this API. What is the document sentiment, right? What is this? How is this document? Uh, what are the sentiments associated with this document? Is it positive? Is it negative? Or is it neutral? So if you see over here, it says that the given input paragraph or statement is about 86% positive and 14% it's negative. So why is it 14% negative? Let us see. There must be something negative written over here. Okay. Yeah, so the only complaint I have is the food didn't come fast enough. So this is kind of a negative emotion, right? So that is the reason probably that the API said that it's 14% negative. There are certain aspects. For example, what are the opinion aspects, positive, whatever it is. Now, another very important thing is the named entities. So the text analytics API is able to kind of extract the entities from the given input, right? So it was able to identify that, hey, this is an organization, then this is the location, and the date time, it happened last week, right? So it was able to identify that information. If you see, there is a phone number which it was able to identify out of the given input paragraph. Then there is an email ID, then organization, and so on. All right. So for those of you who have worked with JSON formats, right? Um, like if I have to explain JSON, it is just a format of displaying information, right? In a key value pair, right? So those of you who have worked with API development and consuming the API, you understand the importance of JSON response, right? So what happens is basically when you make a call to the API, right, like a request call to the API, the API will respond you with a JSON object. So whatever you see over here in the analyzed text is nothing but a fancy version of the JSON object. So if you see here, you can understand them very easily, right? So the language detection says that the language name is English. So the name is key and the value to this key is English. So it says that this given input paragraph is English with a confidence score of 99.91, which is the probability score equivalent to 99%. Then the key phrases, again, whatever you were seeing over here, that is exactly this thing. Then the sentiments, as I was talking about, there are three sentiments that the API detects: positive, neutral, and negative. So that is what is being displayed over here, that it is 0.86 positive, then 0.14 it's negative, and so on. And some other information, a whole bunch of information. So this is just the backend part of it, how the API responds. And this is exactly how you can consume this text analytics API in your application, right? This is the way the API will respond. So you understand. So with the help of this demo, I think you are able to understand how the API will respond, right? You do not care about how exactly the API did this. I don't know. All I know is that the API is able to perform this task very well in good amount of time. So just let us quickly just take another example and then we will move to another demo. So most of us are Indian, so let me consider a Hindi example. All right. Oh, I certainly hope that's a negative sentiment. All right, let us see how the API analyzes that. Okay, there we go. So the API says that it's Hindi with a confidence of 98%. So the key phrases are not supported as of now for this particular language, and the document sentiments are negative with 100% surety. Definitely, it's a negative comment. Then, if you see the JSON object, which I was talking about, again the same information, everything is just the same, right? So that was all about Text Analytics Explorer. You do have other languages available, but that's up to you. You can try them out as much as you would want to. That's all about Text Analytics API. It takes the input paragraph or whatever statement it is. It will analyze the paragraph and it will tell you the sentiments associated. Now let us consider another example. Form recognizer, right? So you can have various types of forms. So for example, you can have a receipt, you can have invoices. So let me take an example of receipt. So I don't have a receipt right now, so I'm taking their example receipts. All right. So this is another API like form API. What it is doing is it is doing exactly the same thing. It is taking a receipt as an input. Whenever you make a call to the API will process the input receipt, extract the information from the receipt, and send it back to the user as response. So here you see the information which has been extracted by the API, like the merchant, and it is also highlighted over here in the picture. Then you have the address, then the phone numbers, the date, the time, then what were the items, and the subtotal amount along with text, tips, everything. So this is just kind of analyzing and extracting the information which is essential from the form, right? And again, here you see the JSON format, how exactly this entire task is responded, right? The entire information is responded by the API. This is what you get as a response. The status succeeded. If in case API is not able to process it, it will say, I don't know, maybe failure, it will say. Then other metadata is like the created date time, last updated time, analyzed version, and so on. You have so much of data. So yeah, let us take another example. So this is kind of a blurry image. Let us see if it is able to analyze it. Okay, it responded. That's good. Okay, so it is able to extract information like phone number, the time, item, and that's all. There's a JSON object, right? Again, the same thing. Um, let's just consider one more form, invoice, and then we'll move to another example. All right, so right now the API is processing this input form. So when I selected this example invoice one, a request was sent to the API, the form API. Now here we go. Here is the information, form information. So for example, we have address, we have the invoice for, we have the invoice number, then what is the date for the invoice, what is the due date for the invoice, then the charges and the VAT ID. So everything is represented in a tabular form as well. So if you remember, I talked about this thing that it shows the key value pair, in tabular form as well. Then the JSON object, again, the API will respond with a JSON object all the time. The API does that. Let's take just another example. API is doing its magic, and here we go. The address has been extracted along with the who's this invoice is for, the invoice number, the date, due date, and the similar things, I think. So just the same. All right, so this is the JSON object. So much information. All right. So yeah, that's all about form recognizer. You can see the application of such form recognizer every day. For example, if you have an application, if you have a company where you are reimbursing, you have so many suppliers, they submit their invoices and now you have to pay them, right? You can use these APIs over there in such applications. You can use these APIs. Now let us move to my favorite API, the Visions API Explorer. This will basically extract the information from the image, like text. What are the objects in the image, and it will display to you over in a very convenient way. Let us see the example. Hmm. All right, so these are some of the examples. You know, the screen just closed. Okay, so I will take one of the examples. Let us consider this example. It seems to be pretty blurry example. Let's see if the API. Currently, we are talking about the Vision API, right? What the Vision API does, as I've already told you, it will extract information from the given image. So here we go. So the information it says, the API says that there are people walking on a platform survey with a confidence of 32%. So that's the description it can get for the given input picture. Other than that, we have the tags. It says that, there is a train in this picture. I'm definitely sure about that, like 97% of times. There is a platform, there is a station, there is lights, clothing, person, subway with some, surety. But there are three objects. What are the three objects? Let us see. Oh, so if you can see on the left side of the screen, in the picture, it is highlighting that there are three objects, like the subway train is one object, person is another object, there is another person. Text words, it is able to identify the text from the platform screen, then landmarks are none. So if we go to the particular data, like the metadata, for example, if I just want to see the faces, definitely there are no faces associated right now, right? You can't see any face, and so can't the API. Then we have objects. So, in the summary as well, we saw that these were the three objects that the API was able to identify. Object number 1, object number 2, and object number 3, which is a subway train with a confidence of 81%, right? Then that text, these are the texts which the API was able to extract. Pretty cool. Let me try another image where I will take my picture and we will see how the Visions API will extract information from that particular picture. I'll try to smile and let's just see. So I'm back to my Vision API Explorer here. If you have to take a picture, you can also take the pictures from your local file, or if you want to if you want to search internet, you can search that as well. These are the given example images by Microsoft. I'll just take a picture from the camera right now. Starting. Okay. All right. I hope it says I'm smiling. There we go. All right. So we can see some of the summary about this picture. So the description says that there's a person who's wearing glasses. Definitely, I'm wearing glasses. Okay. Wait a second. 22. All right. So the colors associated, it says these are some of the colors associated in the picture. So tags is something really fascinating and important part of this Visions API because this is kind of a metadata. This is not this breaks down the image into particular tags, right? So there's a person, and the API says that I have 100% confidence that there is definitely a person in the picture. Yes, I'm a person. There's a wall. There's a human face. Person smiling. All right. There's a necklace. Oh, perfect. Yeah. There, the picture is taken indoors. 95% confidence. There's a woman. It's 83% confident that the person in this picture is a woman. The glasses are on. Portrait, fashion accessories there. All right. So that's pretty cool, right? Okay. So another information in the summary is the face. So it is identifying and highlighting the face on the screen. You can see the age as well on the top. Then you have objects. So what are the three objects that it is able to identify? It says that there are glasses, there's a person, there's a necklace, and text. Since there is no text in the image, so the API can't identify that as well. And let us celebrity in the picture. Obviously, I'm not a celebrity, so there is no celebrity, but there who is approximately 25. Then we have objects. So these are the certain objects, the glasses, the necklace, the person, as I have already told. If there were some brands, it would have been able to identify that as well. Next, we have text. So as I was saying, since there is no text in this particular image, so it couldn't identify. So you see this Visions API, how it is providing you with all these meta informations. You are able to identify some of the informations which are relevant to us, in the real time, right? And it is also giving us a very, very for the for someone who's visually impaired, they can understand by listening. And also this brings one important that you can also combine these multiple APIs. So for example, you can combine Vision API with the text to speech. So for example, there is a picture and there is a description that this API gets. Now for someone who cannot read, you can spell out this description by using the text to speech API, right? So that is how you can, integrate these APIs in your application to fulfill what you want to do. All right. Okay, I'm not going to try any more pictures. No more pictures. Done. Okay, let me go back. So that was all about Vision API Explorer. I hope you were able to understand, how important and how easy it is to consume these APIs. Just, make a call to the API with the input picture and get the analysis done. Next API is, I think, the translate. We have covered Vision API. So now we are going to Translator API. All right. So as you can understand, I think that there is the input text in a particular input language and it will be translated to a target language in a particular language. So for example, let us take, all right, so let me take an example in English. All right, and I want to convert it into Hindi, let's say, because most of, all right, so if I say, hello, welcome to webinar. Right, so let's see what it says. Yeah, that's pretty cool, right? So it has translated the given input text into the target language text, right? English to Hindi. If you want to switch the languages, you can also do that easily by using this button over here, and it will convert it into the equivalent English language. Welcome to this webinar. So yeah, that is all about Translator API. There is another way of translating the given input language into a target language with the help of images. So what sometimes what happens, you have an image, right? You may have a magazine cutouts or you may have some printouts which you want to convert, right? For in that case, you just select the image. You can search the image in the Bing, or you can also use some picture which is there in your system. Let me do that. I have a picture which I will select. All right. So now I want to convert it into, let's say, I want to convert it into Hindi, right? All right. So what the API did, so this API is called Translator API. What it did is that it analyzed the input image. It identified what are the blocks of the words in the image, like hello and welcome to this session. It identified each block of words from the input image, and then it detected that, hey, you know what, it is English, and then it translated this into Hindi, the target language. It detected the text as well. So you see, these are quite helpful APIs, and you can integrate them in your application pretty easily, right? So I think that is all. Okay, so I forgot. So there is a feature of auto detect in the translator API as well. So if you are not sure, if you just type some language and it will identify automatically that it is English or it is Hindi. So fun story, sometime back I started learning Spanish with a very special person and I learned few things over there, right? So let me try out that and see if the translator API is able to understand whether I'm writing Spanish or I don't know, some foreign alien language, right? Um, let's type. Uh, oh, right. Fine. So it has identified that, the person has written something in Spanish and it is to be converted into a target language, let's say English, and that's it. There it goes. So yeah, that's one of the auto detect feature I wanted to talk about. And that's all about translator API. You can translate from text to text. You can even translate from image to a particular target language. All right. Next, we have the real-time crowd insights, right? So this particular demonstration, this particular API, what it does is, as I think I talked about this in some time back. It will basically analyze the crowd, right? So it is just like analyzing a single picture, but here the difference is that you have multiple faces, you have multiple emotions, and overall. So for example, if there is a session going on like this, and if there is a detector, real-time crowd insight detector, which would tell that what your crowd is bored, what your crowd is really happy about the session. I don't know, there can be any emotion associated with the entire crowd. Those kind of informations we can get from such API, right? So if I show you the example, it's just me right now. So let's just see how it works. So it will work in real time, right? I can see my picture right now. I hope you are also able to see me. So yeah, it is basically collecting the information in real time. It says that there is one person. If you see on the screen, on the bottom left side of the screen, there are some demographic information which says that how many males are there, how many females are there, how many females are in their 30s, how many males are in their 30s. So if you see here, it says that there is one female in her 30s. Okay. Um, so the total number of faces, then we have the information like the total number of faces at this hour. So hourly basis analysis is being done. You see a beautiful graph. So, just check it out with all your family, your friends. You will be able to see some really cool graph over here, when you have males as well. So you see some blue graph, some good information, good amount of information. So if you see, there is an average crowd emotion associated as well. So for example, if I'm happy, which I'm right now, it will detect happy, as you can see. If I'm sad, it will detect sad and such information. And this graph, particular graph which you see over here, the average crowd emotion, it will get updated accordingly, right? So if imagine if I have three more people over here and they all are sad because of this session, that will appear that way. But if all are happy, then that information will be updated here as well on an per minute basis, right? So yeah, that is how you get the information on real time. I can try to be sad. Mm. Yeah, there we go. I was sad. All right. So yeah. So oh my God, that brings the end of this demo. So if I have to recap, we started with Text Analytics Explorer, where we talked about how to get the sentiments from the text, right? The positive, negative, and neutral emotions. Then we started with Form Recognizer, where we talked about receipts, invoices, how to extract the important and critical information from those inputs, and all of that is done by the API. Then we talked about the Visions API, which does the analysis of the input image. Then the Translator API, which will translate between multiple languages. And there is the real-time crowd insights, which gives you the real-time analysis about the entire crowd and their emotions associated, right? So now let me just quickly go back to my presentation. I'll just switch. Um, I hope you guys are able to see my screen. All right, so the demo we have covered, right? I hope that demo was good. All right, so I really hope the demo was great and you were kind of able to experience the functionalities which are provided by the various Microsoft artificial intelligence APIs, the one we talked about, the form APIs, the vision APIs, and so on. So after this particular session, a feedback form will be shared with you all. I request you all to submit your feedback, to allow us improve the future events, right? Also, I want you all to create your Azure student accounts today because you can create some awesome projects and you can check out these awesome Azure services and build cool projects and share the knowledge with others on virtual media, right? Um, quick recap, right? Let me wrap this session up with a quick recap about what we have covered. So first we talked about the cloud computing services, the advantages, various service models, the shared responsibilities, and so on. Then we moved to Microsoft Azure and we briefly talked about the core Azure services. We also discussed how, as a student, one can use Microsoft Azure services. Then we had a demo session, which was my favorite part of the entire event. I love to see those APIs work like magic. That's all. All right, that's it, guys. I really had a good time, sharing the knowledge with all of you. We will definitely come up with more interesting events in the future. This session was, just to get you started. In the upcoming events, we will try to get a closer look at a particular Azure service. Here I talked about 10 services. I will take just one particular service and we will talk about that. We will cover the basics and then I'll try to move towards more complex stuff. I will keep you updated about upcoming events as and when that comes. Till then, take good care of yourself and keep learning, guys. Thank you so much for joining today. Um, guys, can we just switch on our cameras to take a picture, take a snapshot? Can everyone just switch on their cameras? Hi, Ujjwal. Right, we have a few more. Come on, guys, you look good. Okay, everyone's looking great. I'll just switch to together mode and we'll take a snapshot. Come on, guys. Um, okay, right. I have taken. Just one moment. But I have taken the picture. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, everyone who joined today. I hope this session was helpful to all of you. We'll meet soon. Thank you so much, guys. Bye bye. Have a good day.